Hi there, I'm Jerry Mobbs, clinical psychologist. I'd like to offer you today some effective tips if you're having trouble sleeping. If you're having insomnia, you may be having trouble getting off to sleep or also waking up during the night. There's many different reasons that we may experience sleep difficulties. Some people experience chronic sleep problems, and other people will have sleep difficulties at different times throughout their life, sometimes due to physical aspects, hormonal aspects, and also importantly, emotional and mental aspects. When we're under stress, when we're experiencing emotional difficulties, our sleep can be affected. We can have trouble sleeping, and then we can also sleep too much sometimes during the day. That's an experience common with depression. So I wanted to share with you these tips. Psychologists call these sorts of tips sleep hygiene. So really it's about learning how to create the conditions that are more likely for you to be able to get a good night's sleep. So one important thing to remember is that it's also about what we do in our waking hours. So if we are leading a really high stress lifestyle, if we're not taking care of ourselves physically, if we're not exercising, if we're sort of running around all day, working on our computer right up till midnight, and then we're going to bed and expecting to sleep, it's going to be really hard. So if you're having trouble sleeping, it might be a good time to do a bit of a self-check of just how you feel your mental and emotional health is generally right now, and how you feel your stress levels are. And you may need to ask yourself, what do I need to change in my actual day and in my life? That may be slowing down. It may be doing less work. It may be doing some more enjoyable things. However, I understand that sometimes we're under stress for periods of time and you're doing the best that you can, and there might not be much else you can do to change that. So there's some other tips that can also help. If you're able to exercise, that is a really effective tool for assisting with sleep. It's a really good outlet for energy, as well as helping the body reduce its arousal level. So any sort of exercise that you're able to do is really, really useful. On a physical level, trying to reduce stimulants. So for example, caffeine and high amounts of sugar or processed sort of foods. Often I'll work with people presenting with anxiety, and I'll ask them, how many cups of coffee are you having a day? And I once had someone tell me 30. Wow, no wonder you're not sleeping. That's an extreme case, but even sometimes 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, that can really affect your sleep. I always recommend, if you're having sleep difficulties, experiment with cutting back your caffeine intake. A lot of people find that they can't actually have caffeine after about midday. So see if you can experiment and cut back your caffeine, and it may have a positive effect. Remembering that caffeine is hidden in things too, like tea and Coca-Cola and energy drinks. So if you are having a lot of those kind of substances, seeing if you can just really cut back on them, or even have a period of abstinence too. Other stimulating drugs may have an effect on us as well with our sleep. Obviously it's going to be really hard if we're ingesting other substances that are very stimulating. The other techniques are more around our behaviours and our patterns around sleeping. So for example, what research shows, one of the most effective things we can do if we're having trouble sleeping and we're trying to get our daily routine back, is to get up at the same time every morning, if you're able to do that. And then the second best thing is about roughly going to bed at the same time every night. So starting to get back a routine and a pattern. So your body begins to understand and know it's time for sleep now. It's actually time to start to wind down. And alternatively, it's time to get up and it's time to start the day. So people who are working shift work find this really difficult and experience a lot of sleeping problems and health problems too. There's been some research that even within shift work, if you can do regular shifts, so if you are going to do night shifts, but if you can do them more regularly, that's actually more effective than having to do some night shifts, some morning shifts, some evening shifts. And I know that that's difficult for people. Some of the other things are around creating associations for bed. These days we are surrounded by technology. It's everywhere. We have our iPhones, our iPads, our computers, our laptops, everything. I recommend at least an hour before you're going to bed to actually turn off all devices. They're very, very stimulating. And when you think about even the light from those screens and also the addictive nature of some of the things that we do on those screens. Facebook is such a classic example. You know, I myself, I can just start having a look at Facebook and then an hour later I'm there scrolling. It's highly addictive without us being aware of it. And it's hard to stop and turn off. So, you know, a lot of people even say they have a rule even after 7 or 9, no more technology. But at least that hour before bed, turning off all devices and saying to yourself it's time to start to wind down now. And having a wind down routine, whether that is having a warm shower or a bath or a cup of herbal tea, warm milk. They sound like small things, but all of those behavioural associations start to send a different message to the brain that it is time to wind down and go to bed now. Keeping your bed only for the use of sleeping. So if you're someone who tends to do a lot of work in your bed or be reading in your bed, if you are having trouble sleeping, try and separate that for a period of time. Keep your bed just for sleep. And that helps again with that association of what's sleep time and what's not. If you are having trouble sleeping, it's important to try not to nap during the day. Research shows generally with naps, if you are going to nap, 20 minutes is about the maximum that actually energizes you. And after that, you start to go into a deeper sleep and you start to reduce your sleep debt. So then you will find it harder that evening to sleep. So if you are having trouble sleeping and getting off to sleep, I'd encourage you to try not to have any naps during the day, even for a week, and just see then if you are more tired at night. Obviously, creating your environment that is more prone to sleep. So if you're able to reduce light, reduce noise, buy some earplugs. They sound like simple things, but they are really important for actually creating that environment that's conducive to sleep. The other part that's really important then is about what to do when you're not sleeping. So you may be lying in bed trying to get off to sleep. Some of the things that you can do there is about having a piece of paper or a pad next to your bed and just write down anything that's on your mind. Doesn't matter if it's just work tomorrow or quite deep emotional problems, just write them all out as a list. Then you're saying to your mind, I can let that go now, I can go to sleep. And then the mind pops up with another thing. You just write it out. So it doesn't matter if you're writing it out in the dark, because often what the brain does is it thinks, I need to remember this. If I don't keep worrying about this, I'll forget it. So writing it down lets you say, I don't need to keep remembering that now. I can actually go to sleep. If you have been having trouble sleeping, I always recommend a regular relaxation sleeping practice every night. So as you get into bed and lying down, just putting on a relaxation CD. I've got one available on my podcast, so 20 minutes. It's me talking you through a relaxation and then going off into silence. Even if you have a couple of nights when you're sleeping well, listen to it for at least a couple of weeks every night. So again, you're starting to create a new routine. It's time for sleep now, time to let myself go. So that's really effective too. Or if you have some other form of relaxation or meditation, but not one where you have to focus too much. You're not wanting to become alert and aware. You're wanting to let your body relax and let go. A little mantra or a phrase that you can say to yourself is about, I'm letting sleep happen. It's not about forcing it, or I've got to get to sleep, I've got to relax, but just I'm letting sleep happen. So then the other trouble is too, when you're lying there, and it feels like hours on end, or if you wake up in the night and then you feel like you've just been lying there, not being able to get to sleep. The natural tendency is to start to worry about it. How am I going to be at work tomorrow? Oh gosh, I'm not sleeping, I'm going to be tired. And then we get more and more wound up, and it's more and more harder for us to get to sleep. The way sleep cycles work is that they work in 60 to 90 minute cycles. So what that means is every 60 minutes or so, you'll be more likely to fall back into sleep. So every 60 minutes or so, your arousal level will go down, and there's a little window of opportunity there to be able to more naturally fall asleep. If we're sitting there worry, we'll miss that window because our anxiety and our arousal level is too high. But if we can say to ourselves, okay, if you've been lying there for more than 20 minutes or so, get up and actually get out of bed and go and do something else. Maybe watch some TV, read a bit of a book. Nothing too stimulating. Look, sometimes people will do work at night, and if that's effective, you can. But if you're actually wanting to get back to sleep, it's about going off and doing something a little bit distracting but not too stimulating. And then after about half an hour or so, come back to bed. You just say to yourself, I'm letting sleep happen now. So you're more likely to catch that next wave or next window of opportunity for sleep, instead of lying there worrying about it. What else? I think I forgot to mention before as well, with stimulants, alcohol as well. It's very tempting to use alcohol when you're having sleep problems because it does sedate us, and often it does help us get off to sleep sometimes. What people usually find, the kind of sleep they have after using alcohol isn't that long and isn't that invigorating. So most people, if you're using alcohol or marijuana or other substances to get off to sleep, you'll find that you'll get to sleep, and then after a couple of hours you may wake up and not necessarily feel rested and not necessarily be able to get back to sleep. So it's a short-term strategy that isn't so useful in the long run. I think that's probably a good start. Research shows too that changing habits around sleep can take up to 6 weeks. So stick with it. A lot of people will find that they'll have a change in about 2 weeks or so. But if not, keep with it. Keep starting your new routine, practicing that relaxation every night, getting up if you've been lying there worrying, and you will find yourself being able to get to sleep easier. It will happen for you, so hang in there. I hope this has been really helpful for you, and I hope you can get to sleep soon.